Angie Stone helped invent an entire genre, and she died with almost nothing. In 1979, she was one of 3 women who cut the first rap single ever released by an all-female group. Over the next 4 decades, the sound they started grew into a multi-billion-dollar industry. But when she died in March 2025, Stone was 63 and still driving from show to show to pay her bills, because she said the companies holding her music had taken almost everything. We traced the credits, the royalties, and the court records. This is what they show. If you grew up on R&B, you already know her voice, even if you have to reach for the name. She sang No More Rain, the slow-burning comeback song that opened her first solo album. She sang Wish I Didn't Miss You, built on the same Philadelphia soul groove as the O'Jays classic Backstabbers. She was a 3-time Grammy nominee, and critics and fellow singers called her one of the defining voices of neo-soul. Before any of that, she was a teenage rapper who helped kick open a door for every woman in hip-hop who came after her. She spent years writing and singing on other people's records, building other people's careers, the kind of work that makes everyone around you money and leaves your own name in the small print. Some fans have taken to calling her group the hidden figures of hip-hop, the women quietly written out of a story they helped start. So here is the question this video is going to answer, using contracts, chart certifications, and court filings instead of rumor. How does a woman this deep inside the history of American music end up at 63, on a highway before dawn, driving home from a gig because she needed the money? The answer starts 46 years earlier, with a record almost no one under 50 has heard, and a company with a long paper trail of not paying the artists who made it famous. Start in 1979. 3 teenagers from the Saxon Holmes projects in Columbia, South Carolina, Stone, Cheryl Cook, and Gwendolyn Chisholm, talked their way backstage at a Sugar Hill Gang concert and auditioned on the spot for a record executive named Sylvia Robinson. Robinson is often called the mother of hip-hop. She ran Sugar Hill Records, the label that had just released Rapper's Delight, the song that introduced most of America to rap music. She signed the 3 girls that same night, and they became The Sequence. Their first single was called Funk You Up. A session bassist named Doug Wimbish built the bass line for it right there in the studio, and that bass line became one of the most recognizable in the genre, borrowed and rebuilt by other artists for decades. Funk You Up reached number 15 on Billboard's Hot Soul Singles chart. It was the first rap record ever released by an all-female group, and one of the very first rap songs of any kind to reach that chart at all. These 3 teenagers were there in the opening months of recorded hip-hop, standing on the ground floor of the entire genre. But here is the arrangement that would quietly define the rest of their lives. Sugar Hill owned the masters, the actual recordings. Sugar Hill also owned the publishing, the rights to the underlying song. And Sugar Hill, run by Robinson and her husband Joe, has a reputation that is now thoroughly documented. Artist after artist on that label, including the Sugar Hill Gang itself, spent decades fighting over royalties they said they were never paid. And remember who was on the other side of these contracts. 3 girls, barely out of high school, signing whatever paperwork a major label put in front of them, with no lawyer of their own, and no idea what a master or a publishing right even was. They toured hard and kept the label's name hot. The ownership stayed exactly where it started. The Sequence lived it firsthand. By 1985, they walked away rather than renew their deal, convinced their earnings were being used to prop up other acts on the roster. And the publishing on Funk You Up, the asset that would have paid them every single time the song was used, did not return to the 3 women until November 2016. That is roughly 30 years. 30 years of that song working out in the world, while the people who made it watched from the outside. To make sense of the rest of this story, you need one piece of music business plumbing, and it is the key to everything that follows. There are two different things you can own in a song. One is the master, the specific recording. The other is the publishing, the underlying composition, the melody and the words themselves. When a new artist rebuilds an old song, replaying its melody instead of lifting the original recording, that is called an interpolation. And an interpolation pays the publishing side. It means the writers of the original composition are supposed to receive a credit and a cut of the money on the new hit. In a clean deal, lawyers sort all of this out before the new song is even released, and the original writers are quietly folded into the credits and the royalty pool. In a messy one, the original artists find out years later, from a fan, that a song they made is living inside a hit they were never told about. Hold on to that distinction, masters versus publishing, because the entire question of what Stone was owed lies right there. Here is proof the system can actually work the way it is designed to. In 1995, Dr. Dre built his single Keep Their Heads Ringin' on that same sequence groove. That one was handled correctly. The group has said their cut came to about 6.5% each. By her own description, it was a small amount. But it was real, it arrived on time, and it was payment for work the women had done 16 years earlier. Remember that figure, 6.5%, because it is the control case in this story. It is what a credit is supposed to do. Now watch what happened when the very same thing occurred on a far bigger stage. In 2014, the producer Mark Ronson and the singer Bruno Mars released Uptown Funk. It became one of the biggest songs of the decade. It spent 14 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It won the Grammy for Record of the Year, and it was certified Diamond, which means more than 10 million units in the United States alone. Its official video has been watched billions of times, and it generated a mountain of songwriting money. Over the following months, that song's credits turned into a live case study of who gets paid when a hit borrows from the past. It started with 4 writers, then it grew to 6. Then in April 2015, after the publisher behind the Gap band's Oops Upside Your Head filed a claim, 5 more names were added, because Uptown Funk leaned on that older record. Those 5 writers were handed 17% of the song between them. By the middle of 2015, industry reporting put the song's songwriting royalties at roughly $2.7 million, with about $1.9 million of that already paid out to its writers. One artist who was added for a small interpolation reportedly earned into the 6 figures from his slice alone. And that $2.7 million figure was only an early snapshot. A song like this keeps earning for years, through streaming, radio, and sync deals. The fees paid when it turns up in a film, a television show, or a commercial. The pool the writers were splitting only got deeper with time. The final credit list on Uptown Funk ran to 11 names. 11 people sharing millions of dollars, and several of them were added only after they raised their hand and pointed out that the song was standing on something they had built first. Now here is where Stone enters the story of that record. The sequence, and a lot of the people who grew up on them, heard their own DNA inside Uptown Funk, the same funk cadence and playful swagger the group had put on wax back in 1979. 11 names went on to that song. The 3 women who helped shape the groove it rode went on to none of them. Stone talked about it openly. On daytime television in 2018, she said Mars had given them their accolades at first, before, in her words, they just kind of got rid of it. She pointed out that at least 10 other people had gotten their checks from that song, while the sequence got nothing. In 2016, the group had gone public, calling Mars out in the press. They did not sue then. In 2017, they filed a copyright lawsuit, arguing the song shared significant compositional elements with their work. By 2018, they were asking for a jury trial. Then the case quietly went away. No credit was ever added. No settlement was ever announced. Under copyright law, the clock on a claim like that starts running about 3 years from when you reasonably should have discovered the problem, and Uptown Funk had been inescapable since 2014. In the coldest possible legal terms, they had waited too long. The difference from that earlier Dre record could not be starker. Same group, same kind of borrowing, and this time, the checks simply never came. And there is one more thing worth clearing up. Since her death, a specific dollar figure has been circulating online for what Stone was supposedly owed, often stamped with the logo of a major news network. We went looking for the report behind it. There is no such report. No court filing, no audit, no named accountant, nothing you could ever put on a screen. So we are not going to repeat a number that no document supports. We do not need to, because the number that is actually documented is 0. Now fast forward 20 years from that first record. In 1999, Stone launched a solo career that finally put her own name out front. Her debut album, Black Diamond, went gold, certified for 500,000 copies sold in the United States. 2 years later, in 2001, she released Mahogany Soul, and it went gold as well. By any measure, she had made it. She was a certified, charting, Grammy-nominated star, sitting right at the center of the neo-soul movement of that era, and her biggest solo hit ran on the exact same engine that had powered her whole career. Wish I Didn't Miss You is built on the groove of Backstabbers by the O'Jays. Interpolation. Again, a new song standing on the shoulders of an older one, more publishing money-changing hands. So by the mid-2000s, Stone had 2 gold albums, a signature sound, and a place in music history that reached all the way back to the birth of hip-hop. Which forces the obvious question. If the record sold, and the songs charted, and the credits carried her name, then where did the money actually go? According to Stone herself, in the final weeks of her life, the answer was brutally simple. It had been taken. In December 2024 and the first days of the new year, just weeks before she died, Stone went on camera and said it directly. We are going to quote her carefully because this is her account, and it was never tested in a courtroom. She said that her publishing, her royalties, and her mechanical royalties had, in her words, pretty much all been stolen. She named Universal Music, the largest music company on Earth, and said it had quietly been collecting her royalties and had taken, again in her words, pretty much everything. Now, in fairness, that is an allegation. Stone never filed a lawsuit against Universal that we could find. She never produced an audited figure. There is no court judgment behind it. So we are not going to hand it to you as a proven fact. But we are also not going to wave it away. And here is exactly why. The thing she was describing is not some exotic conspiracy theory. It is the same fight her own peers have already won in real courtrooms. The pioneers connected to Sugar Hill, the label where she got her start, spent close to 40 years in litigation before some of them finally clawed back royalties and publishing control. Her claim fits a pattern the courts have already confirmed is real. If you are getting something out of this, take a second to subscribe, because we break down a different artist's money like this every single week. Now back to the one place where we can prove exactly what Stone did and did not get. There is one more thread here, and it is the most personal one. In the mid-1990s, Stone was in a relationship with the singer D'Angelo, and she did far more than share his life. She helped build his sound. She holds co-writing credits on his music, including the song Send It On from his landmark album Voodoo, and she contributed to his debut, Brown Sugar. They had a son together, Michael Archer II, who records today under the name Suavo Twain. What she was actually paid for her fingerprints on those albums has never been made public. She said in interviews that he later shut down the idea of ever working together again, out of pride. And there is a cruel symmetry to how this all ended. He died in October 2025, of pancreatic cancer, just 7 months after she was killed on that highway. Their son lost both of his parents inside a single year. 2 enormous talents, and one of them was still fighting to be paid what she was owed when her life ran out. Because by the last months of her life, Stone was blunt about her situation. In interview after interview, she said she could have retired 20 years earlier, but that she was still out on the road because she had to be. On February 28, 2025, she performed in Mobile, Alabama, at the Grand Marshals Ball for the city's Mardi Gras celebration. She had another show already booked in the days ahead at a major college basketball tournament. This was not a farewell tour or a nostalgia run. It was just another night of the same grind she had been doing since she was a teenager. When the Mobile show ended, her team loaded into a Mercedes Sprinter van and started the long drive north through the dark. Around 4 in the morning on March 1st, on Interstate 65, just south of Montgomery, the van rolled over. According to the wrongful death lawsuit her family later filed, Stone survived that rollover. She was trying to climb out of the overturned van when a Freightliner truck came through and struck it at highway speed. Of the 9 people inside that van, she was the only one who did not make it home. She was 63 years old. She died on the road, working, which is exactly how she had spent the previous 46 years of her life. And here is the part that turns a sad story into an indictment. After she died, her children set out to collect the royalties she had spent years insisting she was owed. They could not reach them. The money was tangled in probate and in the very same royalty pipelines she had been complaining about while she was alive. To cover the costs they were suddenly facing, the family put her Georgia home, a roughly 6,000 square foot house south of Atlanta, on the market for $670,000. Sit with what that means for a moment. A woman spent decades saying she was owed money she could not touch, and the day she died, her children inherited the exact same locked door. The fight she had been losing her whole life did not end when she died. It simply got handed down to her kids. Here is the pattern, and Stone is far from the only one caught inside it. The people who built the foundation of hip-hop and R&B were often the worst paid of anyone in the room, and the women were paid worst of all. This is not the story of one bad contract or one greedy label. It is closer to the operating system the early industry was built on, where the artist supplied the talent and someone else quietly kept the asset. There is a detail that captures it perfectly. When the artists of that early Sugar Hill era finally started winning some of their royalty fights in court, one of the pioneers, Shaw Rock, said she tried to bring the sequence into the lawsuit, and the group did not want any part of it. After everything, they had no fight left in them. When Missy Elliott received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2021, she stopped to thank the pioneers who came before her. She said, and this is a direct quote, "Y'all ran so we could walk." Roxanne Shante once put it even more plainly. She said, "If it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be no me." The industry was endlessly generous with these women when it came to tributes, plaques, and standing ovations. Their actual royalties were a different matter entirely. Stone herself was inducted into the Women Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2024. 1 year later, she was gone, still chasing checks she said she never received. And that is the whole brutal lesson sitting inside her story. A single song can sell 10 million copies and mint royalties for 11 different writers, while the woman whose fingerprints are on the sound it grew from is left with a dismissed lawsuit and a house for sale. In the music business, the credits are the receipt. Hers came back blank. If you want to see this exact same machine run on a much bigger name, watch our breakdown of the singer they called the greatest voice of her generation, playing right here